Hello, namaskar. My name is Pooja Dwivedi. Welcome to my class, The Daily Current Affairs, where we will learn significant events of the past 24 hours in such a manner that you will not only gain knowledge and conceptual clarity, but also the skills that are needed to develop for preliminary examination. Because as we see that prelims are becoming more challenging by each passing year. So that is why I am here to help you. Without any further ado, I would also like to inform you that I provide the PDF on my Telegram channel of whatever I teach here. That is by the name of Pooja Dwivedi UPSC. If you have any questions regarding this examination, you can be a part of my Instagram channel as well. Moving ahead, these are the many things that we have to discover today. As in the last practice question, I will try to solve it today with you, and I will also give you another practice question. So let us move ahead and talk about the first question, that is the practice question only. Aditi Swamy created history by becoming the first ever Indian to clinch the individual world title at the World Archery that happened in Berlin, and she defeated Andrea Becerra, who belongs to. The correct answer to this question will be option D, that is Mexico. Seldom it can happen that we have learned about the names of those players, but we do not know where to which country they belong, and that is why UPSC will of course exploit this insecurity or lack of us. So Aditi Swamy has defeated Andrea Becerra, and Andrea Becerra actually is from Mexico, okay? And she's the first ever Indian to clinch the individual world title at the World Archery Championship final. She defeated Andrea Becerra by 149 to 147 in the summit clash of the compound women's event. Other than this, Ojes Deotale defeated Lukas, I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce this. He belongs to Poland. 150 is to 149 through that only, and Aditi belongs to Satara. Okay, moving on. Consider the following statements. The Mediation Bill 2023 halves the time for completing mediation proceedings to 60 days. Agreements resulting from mediation will be binding and enforceable in the same manner as court judgments. Around 70,000 cases are pending in the Supreme Court. So we have to see how many statements given above is or are correct. Recently, the mediation bill has been brought into existence in order to ensure that the pendency of the Supreme Court gets reduced. Mediation means before court only, if you are able to reach a certain agreement pre-litigation, then it is known as mediation, and India is not alien to this particular concept. We have had mediation since ancient times. So whenever the issue arises, first a person must go to a mediator. The parties should try to mediate out of court settlement only, because court proceedings take a long period of time, and we are seeing because of that only approximately 70,000 cases are still pending in the Supreme Court. There are also many other factors such as lack of proper strength, the number of judges are less, absenteeism is another problem. There is a problem with the respect to the current judiciary system, how the procedure goes. The procedure is long, so that is why mediation bill has been brought. So around 70,000 cases are pending in the Supreme Court. This is definitely correct. And the mediation bill actually, in order to ensure that the justice is delivered timely, it is given a 180 days time. It has been halved to 180 days. Earlier it wasn't so, and it is not 60 days. So this is incorrect. Although it can be extended up to one time more for 180 days. Okay. So first is incorrect, third is correct. Agreements which result from mediation. If any agreement has resulted from the mediation, it will have the same, it will be same as that of courts. It will be binding and enforceable. Okay. So first is incorrect, second and third, these two are correct, two only will be the correct answer. The Parliament has passed the Mediation Bill 2023. Rajya Sabha had already done that. It requires person to try to settle any civil, remember, civil or commercial. Here the mention of criminal is not there. Civil or commercial disputes through mediation before any person is approaching the court or tribunal. A party may also withdraw from the mediation after two mediation sessions. This can also happen. The mediation process must be completed within 180 days, which may be extended by another 180 days by the parties. The mediation council will also be developed under this particular bill only. A mediation council will be there in which the registration by the mediators can be done. Recognizing mediation service providers will be done, and also mediation institute. So the mediation council will take care of that as well. It lists the disputes that are not fit for mediation as well. There are also a set of disputes which may not be appropriate for mediation, such as criminal prosecution. So remember, we are talking about only civil and commercial, but not criminal. The mediation with respect to civil and commercial only, not criminal. I'm repeating it because UPSC can find a tricky question to formulate. Or affecting the rights of the third parties. And the central government may amend this list. Who has the power to amend this list? The central government, not the parliament. It can also be asked in your preliminary question that the parliament has the powers to amend the list of mediation or the objects which fall not in the list. It is the power of the central government. If the parties agree, they may appoint a person as mediator. So if both the parties are agreeing, then they can also appoint a mediator. If not, they may apply to a mediation service provider to appoint a person from the panel of mediators. So both options are available. Approximately 4.43 lakh cases are pending in the district subordinate courts, 60.63 lakh cases in the high courts, and around 70,000 cases are pending in the Supreme Court. 52968 cases have been resolved through mediation between April 2021 to March 2022, hence giving effect to this particular bill. With respect to GSAT 24, consider the following statements. It is the 24 co-band communication satellite, and it has been the first demand-driven communication satellites mission undertaken by NSIL, New Space India Limited, which is the commercial arm of ISRO, and it was conceived in the year 2019. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? C. GSAT 24, it was launched way back, but its operation has recently started. That is why this question has been asked. Basically, to provide DTH services. What services? DTH. And who is taking the services of this? Tata. So Tata Play is taking the service of GSAT 24, which is a Ku-band communication satellite. Ku-bands are generally used in DTH services generally. And it has been the first demand-driven communication. That means there was a demand for this particular satellite, and with this was taken by the NSIL. Of course, giving a boost to Atmanirbhar Bharat. New Space India Limited has taken this up for Tata. Okay, so both these statements are correct. Both 1 and 2 will be the correct answer. NSIL has collaborated with Tata Play and launched GSAT 24 in June 2022. Right now, the operations have started. Tata Play commenced the use of satellite. Now it's in the orbital position. GSAT has been the first demand-driven communication satellite mission. Remember this. Okay. And it has been undertaken by NSIL post-space sector reform, in which private sectors were encouraged to be a part of it. Satellite would support domestic broadcasting services with advanced digital TV transmission capabilities, not only in mainland India, as in Northeast India, other parts of India, but also Andaman and Nicobar. This has resulted in better video and audio quality, and many more channels and services are also provided. Linear TV in a country has been given a boost, where approximately 140 million homes are yet to buy their first TV. So this is important for us to understand from the perspective of manufacturing sector, Atmanirbhar sector as well. The GSAT 24 is a 24 Ku-band communication satellite. As you can see, beside me is the GSAT 24. NSIL was conceived in March 2019 as a central public sector enterprise. It works under the Department of Space. It is the commercial arm of Department of Space, basically ISRO we can call it. And consider the following: to create 200 city forests in the country, ex situ biodiversity conservation, making cities climate resilient, to create awareness on plants and biodiversity. How many statements given above are a or an objective of Nagar Van Scheme? Nagar Van Scheme basically aims to ensure that the cities have their own forest, and because of having their own forest, the weather remains in control, the ecological system remains in control. They also reduce heat island effect. What is heat island effect? Supposedly, this is a city which has been developed and it has roads, railways, buildings, every sort of connection that is possible. Because of this, because of the concretization of the area and lack of proper forest, it absorbs a lot of heat. Roads and buildings, they absorb heat, and they emit heat by the night time. It creates a heat island effect, in which the center, supposedly this is the city and this is the outskirts area. Okay, outskirts area may be cooler than the main city, creating a heat island effect. That means this is like an island in which heat is being stored. If we ensure that we are planting enough forest and trees, then of course this ecological system can be maintained. So First, to create 200 city forests in the country is correct. Ex situ biodiversity conservation is not an objective. It is in situ. So these are the kind of confusing questions UPSC might throw at you. Ex situ means taking an object of conservation from their place of origin and conserving it somewhere else. In situ means where it is already there, we are conserving it there. So of course, if we are creating trees, shrubs, etc. under this, it will result in situ conservation. It will be beneficial for the people of the city, and of course, the conservation will also be done at the place where they are. So second is incorrect. Third, making cities climate resilient, yes. And fourth, to create awareness on plants and biodiversity. If you see new plants in your city, you may be able to understand more about them. Okay, so first, third, fourth, three, all three are correct, as in out of four, three are correct, second is not correct. So three only will be the correct answer. Okay, the center has approved a total of 385 projects under the Nagar Van Yojana scheme since its inception in 2020. Earlier than that, we had Nagar Van Udyan. Okay, yeah, so that is why it is important for us to know about the years of inception as well. A Nagar Van Udyan is a forested area in the vicinity of a city where trees are planted so that it looks like a forest. It is accessible to the city dwellers, suitably managed for providing wholesome natural environment. If they want to access it, it is also possible. For recreation, for conservation, education and biodiversity conservation. These are the three things. Other supported services will also include water and soil conservation, because of course if you have planted cities in any area, the soil will be put together by the roots. So soil will be conserved. Those soil will also absorb water. Water will be conserved. Ground level water will be recharged. Pollution abatement will be done, because of course we all know that trees are actually the lungs of the earth. Reduction of heat island effect on the city with essential elements of regular use. As a pilot scheme, Nagar Van Udyan Yojana was launched by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change at the beginning of 2015-16. But from the year 2021 to 2024-25, this time we have the pilot scheme by the name of Nagar Van Yojana to enhance the tree coverage outside the forest and green cover, enhancement of biodiversity and ecological services. To create 200 city forests in the country, that is one of the objectives. Creating green space and an aesthetic environment. Aesthetic means looking beautiful in the urban setup. To create awareness on plants and biodiversity, ecological rejuvenation on the city forest, in situ biodiversity conservation. If you will have a proper forest in your city, of course, the environment may get better. That will also have an impact, positive impact on your health. Making cities climate resilient. All these are a part of it. The ministry actually supports one-time development and a non-recurring expenditure. Expenditure will not recur over and over again. This will be a one-time development. City forest comprising area of up to 50 hectare in forest area within their jurisdiction for deriving maximum ecological and environment benefit, but the minimum area should not be less than 10 hectares. So you have to remember this. Okay. Moving on. Consider the following statements with respect to Digital Personal Data Bill 2023. What are the components of it? What do we have to see? We have to see how many of them are correct. How many it should be? Beg your pardon. How many? Okay. So consider the following statements. Let's consider them. The bill grants certain rights to individuals, including the right to erasure. That means if you want to erase something, you can do that according to this bill. The bill does not grant the right to data portability. If you want to use your own data for other services, the bill is not allowing that. The members of the Data Protection Board of India will be appointed for 2 years and will be eligible for reappointment. That means if the data board has been comprised and the members have already served for a term of 2 years, they can be eligible for reappointment. Okay. So what do we have to see? How many of them are correct? Actually, the bill does grant certain rights to individuals, which also includes the right to erasure. If you want to correct any information regarding yourself or you want to erase anything regarding yourself, then of course you can do it according to this bill. The bill does not grant the right to data portability. This is also correct. If you want to get your own data to be used for another service, you cannot do that. As in, if you have registered your data for something that is with respect to some other services, you cannot port that data for another services. You have to register again. The members of the Data Protection Board of India, which will be constituted according to the Digital Personal Data Bill, they will be appointed for 2 years, and they are also eligible for reappointment. This is also one of the criticisms because it will have an impact on the independence of the digital data board. Okay, so first is correct, second is also correct, third is also correct, three only will be the correct answer. All three will be the correct answer. Now, prelims to interview batches are being launched from 11th of August. Make sure you are part of it. There are 3 batches separately: Hindi, English, and English. The most important part of this particular batch is that you will get study materials delivered at your doorstep. Other than this, you will also get a mains residential program. This is for those students who are going to qualify prelims 2024. You will be called to the StudyIQ campus to prepare there for mains examination. After that, we have an arduous preparatory journey for the interviews as well. So remember to take admission as soon as possible. 11th of August is the date. It is a morning batch, live classes. That means we will be able to interact with each other. Okay, if you use the code PD Live from 70,000, you will get it at just rupees 29,999 only. Now, the Lok Sabha has passed the Digital Personal Data Protection Bill of 2023, and this will apply to the processing of digital personal data. That means if you have registered your data somewhere online or even offline, but it will be digitized later on, then that processing is also taken care of within this particular bill. Also applies to such processing outside India if it is for the offering goods or services in India. This is also a criticism, as in if except certain countries, your data can also be transported to outside or foreign countries. But what are the rules there with respect to digital data processing? This is one of the criticisms. And personal data may be processed only for a lawful purpose upon consent of the individual. But consent may not be required for specified legitimate voluntary sharing of data by the individual or processing by the state for permits, licenses, benefits, and services. Here, the permission is not needed. Now, this is very open-ended. How do you actually consider what may be voluntary and what may be legitimate? So these are certain open-ended terms which have been criticized. Data fiduciaries, that means the parties which are going to store your data, they will be obligated to maintain the accuracy of data. There is no misinterpretation of data. Keep it secure and delete once its purpose has been met. So this basically actually says there is a right to, not explicitly, there is no explicit mention that the principle of right to be forgotten exists in this particular data, but it does have its root in the right to be forgotten. Once your data has been used, it can be deleted. Okay, the bill grants certain rights to individuals, such as right to obtain information, seek correction and erasure, and grievance redressal as well. The central government may exempt government agencies from the application of provisions of the bill. This is discriminatory. If you're exempting certain government agencies, then what of equality? Article 14 is being infringed upon. But there are certain grounds in which exemptions can be made. Security of state, public order, and prevention of offences. The thing is that these are such open-ended terms. How do you define it? The central government will establish the Data Protection Board of India to adjudicate if there is any non-compliance that is being done by the data fiduciaries or any other person. Now, it doesn't grant the right to data portability and the right to be forgotten to the data principle. I am originating any data digitally or offline, which will be digitized later on. I am the data principal, as in the data which originally belongs to me. I am the data principal for that, and I do not have the right to be forgotten. Although I have a right to erasure of certain parts, maybe, but in the government records, if I want my existence to be removed, it can not be done. It does not also grant the right to portability, as in I have already told you about that. So let's skip this part. The Data Protection Board of India's members will be appointed for a term of 2 years. Remember this, and they will also be eligible for reappointment. That means they will also have to please the government, then only they can be reappointed. This is an implicit fact that I'm giving you over here. Who wants to let go of the position? That is why this has been criticized. If one is eligible for reappointment, they will not be able to act independently. Which of the following act is not a part of the list mentioned as scheduled offences under the NIA Act, National Investigation Agency Act? So these are the many acts from which we have to choose. NIA came into existence after the Mumbai terror attacks of 2008. It was formulated under this act from the same year, but in 2009. Act was passed in 2008, body was formed in 2009. There were lacks which were found in the investigation agencies of the erstwhile period. That is why a National Investigation Agency came into existence. Of all these offences act, TADA is not mentioned because TADA has been repealed time and again. So first option A will be incorrect, others are included. The National Investigation Agency is tracking down on the Popular Front of India and the alleged links that it is having. It is the federal agency of the Indian government that looks into the charges of terrorism, investigates and prosecutes for terrorism, insurgency and other national security threats. It was established in 2009 after the Mumbai terror attacks. By the Act of 2008, it functions under the Ministry of Home Affairs. So these are the very basic and important facts that we had to establish. It has the power to take over investigation of terrorism related cases from state police forces and other agencies. That means if there is a charge of terrorism, there is an initiation of the charges of terrorism, the NIA can take it from the state police forces and other government agencies. The act was also amended in 2019 to give it more powers. Investigate cases across state boundaries without obtaining the permission from the state government. When need arises, it can move across state boundaries. Doesn't matter if the state government is saying yes or no. The state government can refer the cases to the national investigation agencies if in their state any scheduled offence has been committed. Other than this is of course under section 6 of the NIA Act, and the central government can also direct the NIA to take up certain cases. Either within or outside India it can function. Okay, so remember that National Investigation Agency also has the powers to investigate matters that are not only occurring within India but outside India. And during the investigation of the scheduled offences, the NIA can also investigate any other offence that has been connected to it. As in, if one offence is the root offence, of that many branch of offences are also occurring, although it is not mentioned in the schedule of the NIA Act, then also it can take it up. But here we have to select which original acts have been definitely there in the schedule. Explosive Substances Act is there, Atomic Energy Act, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, Anti-Hijacking Act, Suppression of Unlawful Acts Against Safety of Civil Aviation Act, SAR Convention Act, Suppression of Unlawful Acts Against Safety of Maritime Navigation and Fixed Platforms on Continental Shelf Act. That means mainland to oceanic surfaces. NIA can go anywhere. Weapons of Mass Destruction and the Delivery System Act, then any other relevant offence under the IPC can also be taken by it. Arms Act and the Information Technology Act. Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act is also there. Okay. Now this is a practice question for you to solve. With respect to Havana syndrome, consider the following statements. It's a unique medical condition. It traces its roots to Cuba in late 2016. It has been reported only in Havana. So how many of the statements given above is or are correct? Okay, so answer it correctly. That's it. Thank you so much for watching.